Alright, so before we get to the dailies today, we just went through an update, and I encourage you guys to definitely take a gander through most of it. I'm not going to cover all of it. There was a lot of it is just promoting things that they're going to be selling. We have the upcoming Capture Festival for next month, which is Mari, and I will, as time gets closer, I will talk a little bit more about that Astromon and why you might want to go out and actually capture this one more than what we did with just Baby Shark this time around. But you can go on to, also, if you guys want to get like a PDF of this, definitely you can go on to the Facebook page. You don't need to be logged in. You can go on there, click on the maintenance one. You just have to scroll down a little bit, and once you click on that, it'll bring up it'll bring up the update, and you can just right click and print it. And I saved it as a PDF so I could show you guys here, just kind of scrolling up and down throughout it, because inside the game it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, not gonna lie. But so let's get to these changes. I was not expecting such a big overhaul for so many Astromon, but this is definitely a balanced patch indeed. I am going to cover Astromon that I have specifically, and I also want to get it out there again. I don't do everything in the game, so my opinion and what the things I talk about are for situational stuff, and again, thinking either of PvP or out farming, or even just the little things of maybe golems or dragons on the side. Farming Titan, doing clan battles, the Dimensional Dungeon now, Tower of Chaos, all that kind of stuff. Again, there are things that I have not done in the game that, again, it's just my focus has not been on certain aspects of it. So something that may be good in one of those, something I haven't mentioned, you know, I want you guys to know that, again, I'm not the be-all, end-all. I am definitely putting out my opinion, though, in situations where if I have this Astromon, where would I use it over something else I had, or where would it go, and things of that nature. So just keep that in mind as I kind of cover all these, and here we will kind of go through these. So I do not have Poseidon, but Poseidon got a whole looks like a work over on all the types of the elements. So check this out if you have Poseidon, especially this one. Fire got completely changed from being a tank to an attacker. So again, if you guys have Poseidon, either pause the video or, like I said, go and download this yourself or take a look at it so you guys see what's changed. But first stop for me on here is Draca Light and Dark. Now, the Dark one I'll talk about first here. The Dark Draca I do not use at all. She has a good first her active skill, or her attack skill versus this is her active skill, which was Seal. Which is now up to attack up. So this is just a buff to give your team. And again, attack up could maybe be useful for those longer fights when you are fighting Titan and you're trying to do as much damage as possible, things like that. So I can see where this, again, might be a change for her like that, but at the end of the day, this Astromon I don't pull out. I haven't even evolved her to Evolution 3. So unfortunately, this is a really niche Astromon anyway. So having it change what Seal does, and change it to the attack up, it just, again, I'm not necessarily gonna pull her out for too much content anyway. And the attack up, I mean, it could be useful even with the Dimensional Dungeon. I could see it there, but the bigger problem with Dimensional Dungeon is getting far enough along and hoping that your team, survives to be able to even do that. So, good or bad, this is kind of a meh for me. I don't know, again, necessarily how useful changing it from Seal was. Seal was more of a PvP skill. It still is kind of more of a PvP skill. You guys can scroll down. They have they talk about changing what Seal does, and it can now, I think, has a chance to stop their Super Ascension abilities. So Seal is used by bosses more or less, and then it's used more in PvP against the team that you're going at. So again, changing this over to attack up, I can't really say for how it is. I just know I probably won't pull her out even more now, just because getting her active skill up takes a lot of work in any content that you're doing, even with SP Siphon Gems. Especially against even a boss. But the bigger one here is Light. So the Light Draca, the bigger change here, not the stat. So the stat, their defense, she gained 10% defense. So I think, what is that? That's if she was at like 2500, that's only 250, right? Extra defense. I mean, I guess she needed a little bit more defense. She might have been dying quicker. My light Draca, you know, thinking of the stuff I've used her in, especially on, let's say, like the dark dimensional dungeon. I mean, yeah, she went down, but, you know, changing her defense by 250 isn't going to be honest, isn't going to, and I'm just using rounded numbers there. We'll have to look at what her defense stat is, but whatever that number was, again, this wasn't going to make or break it. She was just going to die anyway. But the bigger change to her is the elemental edge. This makes her almost, except for her, you know, her attack skill, this makes her almost copy-paste of Fire Draca. Puncture is getting put on her over elemental edge. Now, elemental edge, what this is Mini Tina has this, and I just talked about Mini Tina yesterday. But Elemental Edge treats the enemy as your weakness. So if you're a light, like again, Light Draca here is fighting a Fire Draca, right? If you got her 5-star skill up, it would, whatever damage you did was going to be super effective because it was going to treat it as if I was a Water Astromon attacking the Fire Astromon, right? So Elemental Edge wasn't bad. And again, with Light Draca, she's on par. Like, she's good, but Elemental Edge definitely had its weaknesses because, again, if you were up against a dark, you usually use light against dark, right? So you already had Elemental Edge, right? You already were doing super effective. So her skill was kind of useless. And almost all light Astromon who have Elemental Edge a little bit, and all Astromon in general, I guess, with Elemental Edge, it's definitely, it goes into that situational stuff of where is this actually good at, because again, if you're just fighting full dark team, this is kind of a wasted skill for you. And so getting Puncture now, I think is a good change. This does change her to be a little bit more of that attack focus, so I'd actually be pulling this Astromon out a lot more now, because again, Puncture is really good. There's a reason why you guys see, like, in some of the top teams on, like, Tower of Chaos or even some boss things, right? They're fighting with 3 Fire Dracas is good because you get Puncture up and stuff will just melt. It's kind of like what I talked about with defense down, you know, you're just going to do that damage. But we're going to move on here, though, from Draca. So the next one up is Hunter. Now, Hunter is an original Astromon from the game. It's kind of one of your the first ones I encountered of kind of a single target Astromon. This is one of the only other ones. I think there's only a handful. I can't think off the top of my head, but there's only a couple in the game that have their active skill is just attacking a single target. So I wouldn't call these boss killers, but these guys are their abilities are meant to just pick off somebody one at a time. The unfortunate part about Hunter, which I can see this getting Hunter getting a super evolution at some point. The unfortunate thing is it is a 3-star. So it kind of suffered the same thing as Mona, but Mona is just a much better Astromon on most all occasions, just because, again, most of the content you want to be killing multiple target stuff. Being able to single target stuff is great for bosses and things like that, don't get me wrong, but in a lot of Monster Super Leagues content, Hunter just gets overshadowed by, let's say, I got Fire Draca. Why would I want to use, you know, an attacking Hunter for something? You know, it comes down to situation, and there's just too many Astromon in the game, and other Astromon that do what Hunter has better. You will still, though. However, I will say this: if I see a Hunter in PvP, I will go after it. I will always go after that usually, depending on the team comp. So. But Hunter's interesting here. Got some stat changes. Stun off of crit. It looks like they're starting to get away from this because we're going to talk about, there's another Astromon that has this change coming up. And this is, again, I've talked about this in depth before about this stun critical chance on some of these Astromons, is that locks you in. When I talk about building your Astromon, and I've always said this about evaluating the Astromon as a whole, when you're looking at the skills, right, when you see stun critical, unfortunately, this locks you into your choice because you're like, oh, well, now I have to gem crit as much as I can because I need to get this skill off. And so that kind of locks you in how you're going to play that Astromon, right? It's the same thing. I can go back to Hanahime, my light Hanahime, right? HP aggression is, yes, locks me into a gem choice for that Astromon, even though it plateaus pretty hard, and I've talked about that before. But it worked all the way around, right? She was a tank, so her HP was high in general. So her HP, you wanted HP aggression, right? And that kind of contradicts itself because we don't know where that cap or that plateau is on the damage for HP aggression. So once again, her first attack is HP aggression, but that secondary skill is based off your health, right? Once again, you pump as much health on there and nothing's getting through that shield. You have to focus fire my Astromon in order to get through Hanahime's shield, right? So what I'm talking about, I like these kind of changes, is this is making this Astromon be more fluid and more opening it up to say, all right, you just have a flat 80%. You can book him here to get a 100% chance to stun off of his skill. And that's great. I like this change just because, again, it doesn't force the player to do something specific as far as gemming is concerned. And again, I'm not going to go through all of Hunter here. I just wanted to point this one out because this one caught my eye as well. And it looks like he got a buff. It is just a buff all the way around. So the attack got up just a little bit. Changing HP Siphon to SP Siphon and Puncture with Water Astromon. That's great. Once again, Hunter is a single target nuker. So seeing Puncture and all this stuff on here is actually pretty interesting. I got rid of my light and my dark hunters years ago, and I kind of regret that. But again, I was a new player, and I'm like, whenever I ever going to pull this out? That was before I became a quote-unquote collector in this game. But going back down to Bulbie, though, I have pulled Bulbie out a little bit, but this one's actually interesting. Both her 3-star skill and the 5-star skill got changed from recovery down to now we have weaken for 2 turns at a 60% chance, max 70. Weaken's not bad. Blind is not bad as well. Max is up to 80%, so not bad, not great, but still better changes in these recovery downs, because I'll be honest, you're not gonna recovery down even on bosses, and this is again the problem we have with bosses in Monster Super League, is they eventually they are immune to everything. So here's that's that blanket problem I have, is okay, so why the hell do I have all these Astromon that can put debuffs on if you're just gonna say, well, we just want you to brute force this boss and hope you survive, right? Recovery down even for PvP was like, I've not ran into a problem with healers on here. So these are good changes. At least these is something different for her to maybe pull Light Bulbie out to try different types of things. Blind is not bad, and Weaken is also not bad for what they do. But moving on, Lucy. So Light Lucy is got stat HP, so a little bit more HP. That's great. Skill, both of her skills changed from shock, and it looks like they just buffed it just to go to an 80% to a 90%. So this top one, you might be confused of why it says this. So this is just what it's going to be when you book her. So if you get books on this Astromon, it's just going to increase the turns from 1 to 2. So it just looks like a small little boost to the shock value, and then this one, the book value, gets it up to about 90%. Gemini Dark, SP Siphon Crit. Here, once again, here's the change, and again, I like these changes. This is stuff that actually works, right? Get rid of this crit. Now it's just SP Siphon, and they brought it down from 25%, and now you can book her to get it back up to the 30%. I guess that's the price you pay for losing the crit off of here. Sleep for 1 turn, 90%, max 2 turns, and 100%. So the book's not only going to give you the 10% extra, but also the max turns, so that's okay. But once again, getting rid of these crits are great. Incubus, I only have... Do I even have an Incubus? No, I've got Vampire. I got Nosferon too. I have 2 light... I think I have a light and a dark Incubus. I don't have them built yet. But once again, this is buffs. This looks like buffs and changes overall anyway. So, from what I'm looking in here, some of these, again, Adrenaline is being changed to a lot of Battle Rush. I've been noticing that as well. That's not bad, but we'll move on here. So Verity, so this one is another Astromon I have. I don't have any of the fire, so Blind looks like it just got buffed again. Again, these are pretty much all buffs on here, but the dark one, this one's kind of big. So Verity's 5-star skill was a silence. And it was not she pretty much, you just never used her 5-star skill. You just kept using her for the sap. So when we talk about, you guys, when I talked about Water Miho, right, and building a sap team, when Verity comes around for the 4-star, Dark Verity is another good one to have for a sap team, especially now. The defense by 3% here, I mean, whoop-de-doo. I'm sorry, just like, once again, having more defense, yeah, I guess I'm for that, but the problem is defense, at the end of the day, 3% of what, 2,000 something? That doesn't change whether or not she gets hit that much harder or not. You know, you don't see those kind of stat differences until you're up into the thousands. There's a reason why I praise, and I'm sorry, it's still one of my favorite, it is my favorite Astromon, if I'm being honest. My Light Victoria has over 13,000 defense, because A, it's funny, and B, that's how much defense you need to actually see things be reduced to the amount. She still gets half-shotted by a dark attacker. Like, don't get me wrong with that, but that's my point I'm trying to make, is I had to get her defense that high to make it so that you could see that variable of a change in defense. There is a big difference between 6,000 defense and a measly 200, going back to my stat round off, right? 200 defense on this Astromon. So I don't know how much effective that really is here. But anyway, the point being here, silence being changed to sap. So now, no matter what, our Dark Verity here can put sap on the target. I mean, it's 70% with an 80%, but having the chance is still there. That's good. This is a cool change. I'm all for this change. Silence is just one of, again, situational things that content I don't see, and I doubt she got pulled. You pull her out for, I'm going to use Dark Verity for silence, when most of it you can just brute force through when somebody just uses, their more powerful Astromon. So, but moving on here to Pegasus. So I haven't built Fire, Water, or Wood. I do have both Light and Dark Pegasus down. Blue Soul Recovery. This one, I don't know about that. We'll have to look at what Charging Stance is. But Blue Soul Recovery, so Light Pegasus was really good. So to go back to you guys, we talked about, getting your into dragons and getting to your SP Siphon Gems. Light Pegasus here could help with Blue Soul Recovery if you had him in the leader spot. Now, again, you have to have him variant, things like that. But this was a good ability. I like this ability. So changing it to Charging Stance, I think this is defense down. We'll have to look at that one when we get out of here on this, because I know this video is going to be a little bit longer, kind of doing some analysis paralysis on this stuff, but I think it's important to cover this kind of stuff. The 5-star skill, so on the Dark was Hunter 30%, so now Hunter increases the damage done by 40%. Because it's different from Stalker. So Hunter is, I think, just increased damage done. I'll have to double check that one. Leader skill, again, got changed from Blue Soul Recovery to Charging Stance, so we'll have to look at that. And now this one is kind of funny to me. We just super evolved Dark Victoria, and I kind of talked about how you could pull her out and things like that, and she's not bad. She's a balanced Astromon, so where does she fit in? She got 10% attack, so that's not that bad. More attack on the balance side, so that's going to put her, we'll have to double check that. And again, this is differences, so to go back to what I'm talking about, that's the other thing about the differences between defense and attack. 250 attack isn't the biggest step up in damage either, but it's still, that's going to be, that has a little bit more of a higher weight as far as what damage is done. But again, 10% is still, again, barely a scratch when it comes down to it. Because again, we're rocking, the most I think I could get was my Dark Persephone is up over 12,000 attack. So that's kind of to give you an idea of the highest Astromon's attack that I can put out. But once again, stun critical strike off of her, which is great for 1 turn. Guaranteed stun if you had a crit, but again, you had to go through resistances. Now, with her booked, max 2 turns, 90% chance, I'll take it. That's good. 5-star skill is a defense down for 3 turns at a flat 60%. It's now 3 turns at a max of 80% once you book her. This is great. I like these changes. These changes are good. Again, they're making more and more Astromon viable, and I like that. Mari, who is going to be the Capture Festival Astromon, so only her water version is getting a stat increase of 10% HP. That is alright. Miho, we just super evolved this one, is getting a change, and I talked about her viability, and we see her in PvP all the time, and it's always for her attack down. Well, she just got a lot more scary. Not only is her attack and defense a little bit increased, and those are base stats, but her 3-star skill now is not 60%, but now 80%, max 2 turns up to 90%, and skill damage increased to 25%. That's scary. And now her HP siphon has now been proportional to the amount of damage dealt by 50%, and skill damage she gets done is increased by 25%. That just made Fire Miho pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie, the attack down at a higher percent chance is gonna make her even more of a threat in PvP. So we've been seeing her a lot, so she's already been a threat, but having this almost guaranteed now is going to make you have to make that choice on there. And I can just see it now. So do Water Fenrir, Water Persephone, Fire Victoria, and Fire Miho. And then throw whatever hidden Astromon you want behind your hidden on your defense. And that's a scary, because that's choices you got to make at that point, because yeah, you're at the mercy of the AI, but this is a huge increase to that attack down. And then again, with more HP Siphon on top of already what Water Persephone does. Ooh, that's going to be scary. Anubis, I haven't built just yet. But a quick overlook here, just again, it's all buffs, so it's fine there. Leo, we don't have built just yet, and we only had a light Leo anyway, so light Leo isn't even on there. Mandragora light, we do have one of her, double sap 1 turn, so double sap for 2 turns at an 80% with a max 2 turns to 90. So they just made it so you could get an increased turn, it looks like. They just made it look like, they just made it be like, hey, book your Astromon. That's really what that came on to. Kana, though, she got changed to charging stance. So the Blue Soul Recovery, I wonder if they did some of these changes to Blue Soul Recovery because people were using them in Apex battles. I didn't even think to do that. I just thought of something, and now all the Astromon with Blue Soul Recovery are gone just because they... Oh, man. Would that be a crap if they changed this just because of Apex battles? Nah, they couldn't have done that. They must just have changed it. We got to see what charging stance does before I say anything else. But Kana, I have light and dark of her. I do not have wood, water, or fire. Let's look at this. We got charging stance. Shock for 2 turns at 70%. Attack and then charging stance. So we'll have to double check on those. Nosferon 2, we definitely, like I said, we just got dark, so attack down. Now he has sap. He gets triple sap. Oh, man. So that's a sap. That's going to be a big one. Morale boost just got increased on that. Predator got changed to curse. Ooh. Well, Predator's not bad, though. Like, Predator on a couple Astromon hasn't been too bad, but I don't know. And then they put Fulminating Curse. So they just did the combo. So, again, this is a combo. You guys know I've talked about this before. So you get Curse up, and then Fulminating Curse is your 5-star skill to kind of really do as much damage. So he stacks curses. So you put this on a really heavy curse team just for Fulminating Curse to actually explode and do a lot of damage. The problem is that unless they need to buff Curse, they need to put more damage out on Curse and make it viable as compared to Sap, because there's no reason to run a Curse team when you can just do Sap. And again, the problem also comes down, I've talked of it before, bosses just get the blanket. We don't take any damage from Sap. So then you go to Curse, and then you realize Curse doesn't do jack diddly squat as far as damage. And so it's kind of like, well, this was a waste of an attempt. I wish I could get that energy back. So, Saren got her fire type got just stat buffs all across the board. She went from a healer to a tank. so she had to reflect that change in the HP and the losing the healing there, so that's fine. Jelly, I do have a light version of her, so again, this crit modifier is gone, which is great for her. Dark Yeti got seal and stun now is a little bit better. That's great. Succubus, dark. I don't have a dark succubus. I need to get one. Wood succubus, sleep now, 2 turns at 80%. Wow. And then shield breaker's gone and it's just flat out sleep. That's kind of bad. I like shield breaker as an ability because it counters my Hanahime. That is a good ability. So I don't know why that they kind of would get rid of that. That's really one of the only Astromon I remember actually having shield breaker on it. Wendigo got attack stat and then adrenaline, got up to predator. Yakasha light, so I do have her. Got predator, was increased from 30% to now it's a 50%, so that's a good change. It's more damage on her. Light, Yakasha is actually a really good attacker. I've pulled her out several times for just clearing content, so her doing more damage is more damage, so I'll take it. Light Banshee I do have. Shock 1 turn, 80%. Water got resistance down. Soul boons are gone off of her attack skill. So the resistance down is good. I like that change. Sea Star, so this is what caught my eye. So again, Light Sea Star, and I talked about this in my gemming video. Once again, the crit, I'm not going to go over it here again, but the crit modifier is gone. So now Shock is at 1 turn at an 80%. You can go up to a max 2 turns, still stays at the 80%. Her skill, though, her active skill goes up to, if you have her booked, it'll guarantee at 100%. And I say guarantee, you still have to get the resistances and things like that. I have still yet to super evolve my fire gene and my water gene, I think, actually. But Soul Boon is gone for red. She just gets aggression HP, which is fine. I believe she isn't a tank, so this kind of makes sense for her. Light Mona got rid of adrenaline, which is great, and Battle Rush now makes her a little bit more of a viable defender light Astromon, so this is a really good change on her. I like this. Tiger, stats, just flat stats. Fennec, Battle Rush, the crit modifier is gone, and Sandwraith got Unflinching Strike to Courageous Strike, and that is a great change. We need more things with Courageous Strike on them that isn't just exclusive to the 5-star thing on there. And that is it. That is a very long-winded kind of going over the stat differences on here. And I wanna point out one thing too with that. There was a post on one of the Facebook comments, and I agree with the gentleman that posted it. He gave the statistics of actually summoning a 5-star on here. So going back to kind of what I'm saying here with this Courageous Strike, we do either they need to really up the chances of us actually summoning 5 stars, or these are changes that need to be made across on a lot of different Astromon, because Courageous Strike is the reason why it's good is because it lets you hit bosses extremely hard, which is great for getting through certain things, but it's just that exclusivity to those 5 stars is starting to really wane when you can't even summon a 5-star after 500 plus egg summons. And again, if you made it this far in the video, I applaud you, but like that's the reason why I'm making these videos. You know, I literally spent everything I had. I hatched all my eggs and I didn't get rewarded for it. And at the end of the day, you know, this is a game. I realize there's a business model here, but at the end of the day, it's like I'm literally spent all this time and I didn't get rewarded except for 3 pity eggs and 3 Astromon I did not care to have because they fit nowhere into the meta and they don't do anything on here. So, but regardless, with my ranting out and covering of all this, these changes are really good. So with that, I'm gonna go get to that daily, and so I will see you guys in a minute.